Well, hello. Hope everyone is having a good Friday morning as we get ready for the weekend. My name is Steve Ramirez. I've started this video blog, and today, preparation of the beginning of the college football season, thought I would talk a little UCLA football and where they what they might do this year, coming off a pretty good year last year. Um, they returned nine starters on offense, 7 on defense, from a team that finished 8-4, 6-3 in the Pac-12, and qualified for a bowl game. They're led by their senior quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. This is actually his 5th year. The NCAA allowed players to not count toward their eligibility the COVID year of 2020. So he's allowed to come back for his 5th year. Made a lot of progress last year, and more things are, he's expected to have a pretty good year. He's been on some of the All-American watch list and some of the top quarterbacks in the country watch list. They also returned running back Zach Charbonnet. Had a really great year last year, and more of is expected from him this year. Other returners on offense are receivers Kaz Allen and Cam Brown. UCLA also returns 3 of their 5 offensive linemen. The big losses, of course, are tight end Greg Dulcich and wide receiver punt returner Kyle Phillips. Both appear to be making 53-man rosters in the NFL. So those are big losses. But they do have some key transfers. Chip Kelly has done a good job of using the transfer portal to build up his football team. And one of those is wide receiver Jake Bobo, who was on the receivers watch list nationally. Defensively, UCLA is not, as most know, has not played very well defensively in the Chip Kelly era. They did make some changes. They did give up 26 points a game last year. They do return 7 starters and add some key newcomers, but the most notable are on the coaching staff, where Bill Reynolds is the new defensive coordinator, and Bruin alumnus Ken Norton Jr. is the linebackers coach, and I think those guys are gonna make a big difference. The main point for UCLA this year is if they can maintain their offensive output of last year, which was I believe around 30 points a game, 31 points a game, somewhere around there. They can get close to that or be better than that. And if they could get just a little bit of improvement on defense, I think they could have a really good year. The schedule also, UCLA's got a huge break with the schedule. It's ranked one of the best schedules for a team to have in the Pac-12, meaning they have a lot of winnable games on this schedule. So let's take a look at it. So here is UCLA's schedule. Put it up here on the right, and you can see the first 3 games are at home. Very winnable games: Bowling Green, Alabama State, and South Alabama. The last 2 are historical black colleges, 1AA. First time UCLA is playing 1AA teams. All 3, these are games that UCLA should win, and probably win big. The toughest is the first game, Bowling Green. Bowling Green, I believe, went 4-8 last year, but they returned a lot of players on both sides of the ball. So that game could. I've read some of the scouting reports on Bowling Green, and most people think Bowling Green should kind of stay close for a half, but will eventually tap out, and UCLA should win that game pretty handily. Alabama State and South Alabama probably will be games like UCLA played last year against Hawaii, where they just kind of blew them out in the first half and kind of coasted in the second half. Then week 4, they open up Pac-12 play at Colorado. UCLA lost their at Colorado 2 years ago, where they looked good offensively in that game, but they couldn't stop Colorado. Last year at the Rose Bowl, Colorado played them tough for about a half, and then UCLA took control in the second half, and Colorado had some big losses in the transfer portal, and they weren't they weren't really able to replace them a lot. So that you have to mark down as a UCLA win. And then they play Washington 6 days later at the Rose Bowl. UCLA ran for over 200 yards against Washington last year in Seattle, and Seattle is kind of in a Washington is kind of in a transition this year with a new coaching staff. So we're not sure how they're going to come out the gate. They may struggle at first. So it's good for UCLA to get them early in the season rather than later. And I think UCLA should be able to run the ball. And when they're able to run the ball against teams, they usually have a pretty good handle on things. Allows them to get some leads, and they just get a little bit from the defense, put a little pressure on young teams, and they're able to take advantage of that. So they should start out the year 5-0, and that'll give them a pretty good good match the following week when they host the 2021 Pac-12 champion Utah at the Rose Bowl. Utah returns good amount of players. They've lost a few, but they return a good amount of players from last year's Rose Bowl team. I see Utah winning that game, but I think it might be close. Last year, UCLA's defense was actually pretty good against the run for most of the season, and when they played Utah, Utah was able to run at will against them. So that's going to be a tough game. Some experts are picking UCLA in that game, but I think you have to go with Utah before the season, and we'll just see where both teams are at that point when they play. But right now, I'm going to pick Utah in that game. Then UCLA takes a bye, and then they come back from the bye, their only bye of the season. They'll travel to Oregon. UCLA gave Oregon a tough game. Had I think a 2-touchdown lead when they played at the Rose Bowl last year, and Oregon was able to come back, and UCLA had a chance at the end. Then Ethan Garbers, who was in for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who got injured late in that game, he threw a interception that sealed it for Oregon. But it was a close game, and I think it might be another close game. But I'll give the edge to Oregon being at home. Then UCLA follows up with Stanford. They beat Stanford last year up in Palo Alto. It was a close game. UCLA was able to come out on top. And I'm not sure how to read Stanford. They're coming up. They had a pretty bad year last year, and David Shaw has done some good things. And some people think they may be the surprise of the conference, but we'll just have to see. But right now, I think you'd have to give UCLA the edge in that game, based on who's coming back from both teams and where both teams are in their program. Then UCLA follows that up with a game at Arizona State. UCLA beat Arizona State in Tempe 2 years ago, and also beat them at the Rose Bowl in 2019. Lost to Arizona State last year, where Arizona State was able to find a scheme to kind of shut down UCLA's run attack, or at least keep it in check for most of the game. And they also hit some big plays in the passing game. But Arizona State had some big losses in the transfer portal. So I think going into the year, you have to give the edge to UCLA. Arizona, the following week at the Rose Bowl. Arizona is kind of coming. They're getting better in their program. They were really bad 2 years ago. First year, last year under Coach Fish, um, they improved. They had a really good recruiting year. They did good in the transfer portal. Um, so they're an upcoming program, but I'm just not sure they're ready just yet. So I'll give the win to UCLA there. Then the traditional rival and November 19th, UCLA hosts USC at the Rose Bowl. USC obviously has Lincoln Riley. They did great in the transfer portal. A lot of athletes. Concerns with them would be on defense. This game should be a very high scoring affair. Both teams going into the year. It's hard to say what USC is going to be like. They do have a lot of skilled players, elite skilled players. Question is what they have up front on both sides of the ball. But I do think they're going to, with Lincoln Riley and the players that they brought in, that they're going to be able to score some points. UCLA, we know, should be able to score some points. They scored points last year. I think they scored 62 points against USC last year. And Lincoln Riley's teams at Oklahoma weren't very, how can I say this? But defensively they weren't elite. They usually outscored teams or just buried teams with their offense, and I think UCLA will have a chance in this game. I say that going into the year. We'll see how the teams play throughout the year. But going into the year, I think I'm going to give UCLA the win. They're at home, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, and I think they might be able to outscore USC. Then UCLA finishes up at Cal. They handled Cal pretty well last year at the Rose Bowl, and looks like they're just a better program than Cal right now. So I figure UCLA should finish 10-2 and 7-2 in the Pac-12, either second or third. I'm not sure that 7-2 will be good enough to get them to the championship, the conference championship game, but might be able to see them return to the Holiday Bowl, where last year the game was canceled due to COVID, and so they'll either qualify for the Holiday Bowl or maybe the Alamo Bowl or the Sun Bowl. It looks like they have the program headed in the right direction. So that's my thoughts on UCLA this year and their schedule. This, like I said, I think 10-2, 7-2 seems about right. It's hard to forecast where slip-ups are going to come. If they're I would say if they're 8-4 with a schedule like this, then Chip Kelly may be in trouble, maybe on the hot seat. If they go 9-3 or 10-2, then it'd be hard to dismiss a coach, even though with his new contract makes it much more easier. But if they went 9-3 or 10-2, it would be hard to get rid of him. 8-4, even though 8-4 and 8-4 consecutive years seems good, but with a schedule like this, I think you could almost pencil in nine wins off the bat, and there's about 3 pick'em games going in. I mean, I think the Utah game you would favor Utah, or at Oregon you would favor Oregon, and I think against USC at this point in time, the programs are about equal. But we'll see what happens during the season. So that's kind of my thought on UCLA's football team for this year. So we'll see how it goes, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.